Probate is 4% of the first $100,000 of an estate. And as the amount of the estate goes up, the percentages go down. But here's an example of an estate worth $50,000. Now, even if that is $400,000 in a home, and that's a home that you paid $600,000 for, and it's underwater, it's taxed at the value of it, not what the equity is. So let's say you have an estate of $500,000. Here's the fees you're going to pay. $395 to simply file the probate. $100 to publish it in a local newspaper. $500 to have everything appraised. $395 to file a petition for final distribution. $13,000 in attorney statutory fees, and possibly $13,000 to an executor, bringing the total up to, depending on a number of things, between $14,000 and $27,000 to probate an estate. And if the liquid value of that estate is nil, that's when people have to dig in and sell assets and do things like that. Not what you probably wanted to have things done. Those fees are hellacious and probably only going to go up as cities and counties and states look for more ways to generate revenue. So that's what you need to deal with, and it's a pretty difficult situation. By the way, those bad guys out there who want to look at your will and see what assets you own, stuff like that, they don't even have to go to the courthouse anymore. That information is now online. So they can do it from the basement of their mom's house, and nobody's going to know, okay? They can do it without even having to drive down to the courthouse to do that anymore. So it's a serious problem. And if anybody protests the will, it could take years to get it done right now. So it's a long, drawn-out process. And the same thing would happen if you don't have a will. The same complications would exist.
Is there a difference between a trust and a living trust? And if you have a trust, does that avoid all of the taxes that you just spoke of?
Most of those are not taxes, they're fees. Those are all fees. So let's assume you have a living trust, which is a very simple document. Maybe, you're going to spend, depending on your situation, between $500 and $1,000, maybe even $2,000. That's still a heck of a lot less than all those fees I just went through with you there. And you're going to get a document that is a private document that will allow for the immediate distribution of assets after you die, and to go to be distributed the way that you outline them to be distributed in your trust. It may take a little while because they'll require a copy of the death certificate and one or two other things, but maybe a month at the most is all you would have to wait to start distributing assets. So you decide when assets are going to be distributed, who they're going to be distributed to. I have a good friend of mine who has two daughters, both under the age of 10. And he says, I don't know who my daughters are going to marry, but I don't like that person right now already, okay? And I sure don't want this bum to get his hands on money that I've set aside for them. So in his living trust, he has documented how the money will be distributed to his daughters over a period of time. So those are the kinds of things you can do that make it a lot more efficient and allow the money to go the way you want. And people think, wow, living trusts are very expensive. I have never seen a living trust that costs $27,000. So just keep that in mind. I think it's a pretty good option. And it's people assume that living trusts are something that are for really, really wealthy people. No, they're not. And many people assume that it's something you do when you get older in your life. No. Every time I start talking about this, my mind immediately goes back to September 11th, 2001. Most of the people who died at the World Trade Center were very young people. They were people who were living in an exciting industry. They were making buckets of money, tons of money. They lived exciting lives. They had great families. And the problem is they thought they were going to live forever. Little did they know that their life was going to be put out in a matter of seconds. And this created a tremendous problem for their families. This is ghoulish, and I apologize, but it's something you need to be aware of. You may remember that after the attacks, it took many, many, many months, in some cases years, before they could determine a person was dead. There were no bodies. And so they were in this terrible situation of this money sitting there, hundreds of thousands of dollars in 401k accounts, IRA accounts, and stuff like that, sitting right there, but the surviving spouse couldn't get to it, even though they were the designated beneficiary, but the spouse that owned that account had not been declared to be dead. So what they needed in a case like that was the most important financial document, power of attorney. Financial power of attorney would have allowed them to access that money. It would have made them their fiduciary to act on the behalf of the owner of the account. So those are all kinds of things. There's a lot of great stuff out there. Man, you can find a ton of stuff online about estate planning. You can use an attorney. You probably have heard ads on radio and TV for, what's the one? LegalZoom, LegalZoom.com. There's a great publishing company, Nolo Press, NOLO.com is their website. They have a lot of great self-help legal books on estate planning and things like that. So there's a lot of resources out there for you to do it, but do it.